Hey guys, welcome back to episode 3 of playing Ethiopia in Conflict of Nations. In this episode, you'll see victories, defeats, explosion, and expansion. I did promise that my video quality would go up, and here's the answer to that promise. In this episode, I am going to try something different with my video style and approach with Conflict of Nations. And tell me in the comments what you think. We start off in day 9, but to recap the last 9 days. During day 1 to 4, I built a strong infantry force with attack helicopters and invaded Kenya. However, I noticed something strange about Kenya. Most of his troops were missing and his cities were empty. However, thankfully, I didn't have to confront them and I pushed Kenya all the way back to Mozambique. From day 5 to 9, Egypt, my coalition member, went inactive and never became active again. I began to send my troops to his territory as I finished off Kenya's provinces. South Africa later joined my coalition and took over Namibia and Mozambique. Chad declared war on me during this period as well, but this time Chad was most likely an AI at this point, since he showed no sign of activity since day 4. Which leaves us to today. My military has significantly grown with 34 units, including 2 corvettes. I have 173 points, leaving me at 7th place, ahead of Japan but behind Austria. I have the 8th largest economy with 19 kilotons of production. I initiated the kicking of Egypt in this day, since he has been inactive for the past 5 days. He has lost a lot of his troops in battles against Israel, so I have my troops in his territory ready to take a few of his cities and conquer the rest once he has left the coalition. Essentially, an easy takeover. On the opposite side of Africa, here in Kenya, I have taken all his homeland territories in the war. I would argue was a little bit too easy. I'm moving my remaining troops to positions on the border with Chad. Chad declared war on me on day 9, but not to worry about it, he has been inactive. My worry, however, is after Chad with Mali. Mali is an active member of the European coalition, meaning he might make active decisions during a war with me. My philosophy is to attack active members bordering you. If you are worried you can't or it's unfeasible, you better cooperate with them. In this case, the latter is impossible because he's already in a coalition with the Europeans. However, I have one card up my sleeve. I am far more experienced than him. But my fear is that the Europeans may help him in order to get rid of my coalition early on. Although this is unlikely, my strategy with Mali would have to be quick, securing any airports to stop help from coming, and ports later on to stop the Europeans from shipping troops there. The European coalition is numerous and powerful, so I hope this does not stir up any beef with them at the beginning. But the coming days leave a lot to be desired. Day 10 and the war against Egypt is a go. The Egyptian-Ethiopian war began with 2 immediate victories. I managed to capture the port of Said and Asyad, with the battles raging in Cairo and Aswan. I also began my offensive in Chad, with my division heading for and eventually capturing Abichi, and my infantry heading for and eventually stopping in the outskirts of Brai. as I spotted an enemy armored unit in the city. Meanwhile, in Egypt, I managed to take over Cairo and overthrow the capital. However, I underestimated the boost infantry fighting vehicles and infantry get when battling in cities. As I was battling in enemy territory, they had a 25% boost over my troops. And despite outnumbering the Egyptians 1 to 2 initially, they now had the advantage. I'm forced to send my helicopters to go and support the remaining battalions. I don't want to retreat from the cities because I feel victory is close. But I also recognize the possibility of losing this battle. Meanwhile, in Mali, I sent my division to Mali's capital to see what's there. If there was a weak enemy presence in the city, I'll take it. Otherwise, if there was a strong enemy presence, I'm gonna wait for reinforcements. I learned a lot about the shortfalls of my military in day 10. Without a strong air force, as I normally do in most games, fighting inland is going to cause me to suffer great losses. If I wanted to minimize on these losses, I'm going to need ground support, this being long-range artillery. After weighing my options between howitzers, artillery, and multiple rocket launchers, I decided a multiple rocket launcher because of their range, firepower, mobility, and the fact that they need supplies instead of components to be mobilized. As it seemed my production of supplies was doing pretty well, this means I could build level 4, I would need to build level 4 army bases, which I will do in the city of, I'm not going to try and pronounce it, I'll put the name on the front page and pronounce it in the next video once I learn it. Because of how far inland it is, protected from sudden military attacks. Day 10 didn't end off in a bad note though, as Mali went inactive and as a result was kicked out of the European coalition, meaning there would be no consequences if I invaded him. This does change my plans as I decided I wanted to invade the Middle East to create a barrier between Turkey and I also wanted to create a ballistic missile force to use as a possible deterrent and a possible war against Turkey and Europe. Having control of Egypt keeps his cities within range of ballistic missiles. Hey guys, if you're still watching, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. I appreciate the support and remember that every like, subscription and comment does nothing but make my videos better. Thank you. Day 11 wasn't a very eventful day. I had lost over half of the forces I dedicated to Egypt. The AI threw all his forces at my troops and even managed to regain some land. He also managed to set up a new capital in the port of Hurghada. But at this point, most of his cities were empty, as he already threw his troops into mine. My navy and helicopter wing was working tirelessly to help stifle rebellions and insurgencies as my ground forces suffered. In Mali, progress was slow, but my troops marched into his capital, entered into a battle with the recon unit, though they were outnumbered 1-3, so victory was guaranteed. Meanwhile, on the southern front, I sent reinforcements as well as a helicopter in to prepare for the capture of Brai. As in his northern territories, I began to use my fighter jets to launch strikes against his artillery unit. which I discovered in the outskirts of Fire. Day 11 was disappointing, especially with my losses in Egypt and slow progress in Mali. If I were to catch up, I was going to need to take more of Egypt tomorrow. I had already fallen a place on the leaderboard to 7th place, and things weren't looking good. If I wanted a chance at winning this game, I needed to be as powerful as Turkey and secure the Sahara and Middle East before the Europeans could. Day 13, after launching a number of air and sea strikes in Egypt during day 12, I managed to completely wipe out Egypt's army and began taking the rest of his provinces with the little troops I had left, being careful to avoid any losses. I was almost done, having captured almost all his cities and beginning the capture of his last city. Things were looking up in Egypt, and they were looking up in Chad too. After capturing his capital city, he built another with which I laid siege on. I am hoping that when South Africa finishes using his strike aircraft, he can lend me some of them so I can weaken some of Chad's positions in the north. But for the meantime, I've sent reinforcements to the city. I managed to take over the city of Brai on day 12, as well as many of Chad's provinces in the southern regions. My plan is to launch a big offensive into the northern territories after taking the south and ending the war once and for all. I launched helicopter strikes into Yemen on day 12, and on day 13, after dealing with Egypt's troops, I sent my army and navy to Oman, planning to take the southern AI states of the peninsula in preparation for my invasion of Saudi Arabia in the future. I decided with South Africa to take Libya and then the rest of the Middle East as our game plan. Anyway, that is it for today. Thank you guys for watching this video till the end. If you like this video, please sure leave a like, subscribe, and comment. That does nothing but make my videos better. Please, if you have any questions, feedbacks, tips, or ideas, please type them down in the comments. My inspiration to make a Conflict of Nations video with a bit of a storytelling element was that when I was younger, my siblings and I would make stories as we played video games, such as Lego Marvel, Minecraft, Flight Simulator. Those were the games we used to play when we first started gaming. We used to imagine a story behind our actions and our gameplay, and here's a chance to do that again. Anyway, thank you for watching, and see you guys next time in episode 4 of Conflict of Nations with Ethiopia.